Gavin Newsom is one of the worst politicians in the world. That's a pretty high bar to hit, by the way. Like, there's a lot of really bad Democrats out there. But watch this video of him totally getting wrecked by Adam Carolla. It's really great. It's a classic. Check it out.
Half of African Americans in the state of California, roughly half of Latino families, have no access to a checking account or an ATM. Things we take for granted. They don't have a checking account.
What's wrong with them?
And well, because they don't have the resources to sock those things away.
Why do we have them?
A lot of different reasons, but roughly half those families don't. Where do they
why
end
do
up?
Armenians have them?
But where they end up is in check cashing places.
But I want to know why those groups. Why those two groups don't have access?
Well, a lot of. Just happens to be that. We can talk about
flawed?
This. No, they're hardly flawed, but they're struggling.
Genetically
Folks are making
flawed.
their word. Hardly, not absolutely.
But okay,
not.
Do Asians have this problem?
I mean, a lot of communities have. A lot of whites have these problems.
Oh,
but
so that's not just black and Hispanic.
No, but
why did you bring up black and Hispanic?
Because the magnitude is ominous.
But why so many of them?
It just happens to be the magnitude.
That's the way God planned it?
Not at all.
Well, what happened to them?
There are a lot of issues, and that the communities are struggling. A lot
why
of new
are they
immigrants.
Struggling?
A lot of different reasons. Lack of
Hispanics
opportunity.
Have been here. Blacks have been here longer than we've been here.
Well, we can surmise.
What about Asians? They were put in internment camps.
Yeah, in fact it all initiated out of San Francisco. And the Chinese Exclusion Act came out of progressive San Francisco.
Are they the check cashing
places? A lot of Asians certainly do.
Oh, so why don't you conclude them?
The only reason why is the magnitude.
There's so many more.
The magnitude in percentage
But there's
terms
no way to figure out how that happened.
We could talk about it. You know what I'm dealing with? I don't want to have a sociological debate.
Sure, why would you?
No, here's why.
Why would you want to do that? Because the person from the Times wouldn't write good things about you if you did that.
No, that's not the case, because I want to deal with reality. No.
You want to deal with reality.
I want to deal with the reality of people that are struggling, people are suffering. I want to deal with the problems in a pragmatic way. Why are they
struggling and suffering?
I don't want an idea. We can hold hands and surmise about all these underlying reasons.
I don't want to do that. I want to know why they're struggling. Why are they struggling?
A lot of folks are struggling because they can't find jobs.
Why blacks and
because they're working.
Why blacks and Hispanics?
Across the board, all socioeconomic.
Okay, so
everybody's struggling.
So Asians are suffering just as much as blacks.
The face of welfare is not an African American family.
It's Asian, Jewish, it's all of them.
Caucasian, it's a lot of folks in society. A lot of folks are struggling.
Okay.
So let me start off by saying what I love about Adam Carolla. He is very persistent in his interviewing. A lot of people kind of would get distracted. A lot of interviewers would get distracted, and they would kind of be like, okay, Gavin Newsom isn't answering this, so I want to ask a different question to make things interesting. But because he's so persistent, he's able to actually get Gavin Newsom to squirm in a way that Gavin Newsom doesn't typically do, because he's actually a really good, interviewee. He does a very good job, but he just keeps hammering him with this question that Newsom refuses to answer. Why? The question is, why does Gavin Newsom refuse to answer this question? The reason why is because he doesn't actually want to fix the problem that minorities are experiencing, specifically in San Francisco, which he was the mayor of, and now he's the governor of California. The truth is that minorities in San Francisco are struggling for two reasons, and they're kind of intertwined, but the reasons are this. They've been conditioned by the government to rely on the government rather than detaching themselves from the government and being autonomous. And this is something that Gavin Newsom cannot allow, and the reason why is because if he allows it, then he loses all of his power. He has no power at that point, and he has no, he needs them to rely on him. The second, though, it's worth saying as well that the progressive mob will continue after him if he doesn't have a strong minority base. But the other problem is that the progressive mob will also go after him if he says that they have a cultural problem. If he says that the minorities have a cultural problem, which is one of the reasons why they're struggling, then the progressive mob goes after him because he's not being intersectional enough. It's especially bad for Gavin Newsom because of the fact that he's a straight white male. And it's really ironic because if you look at who Democrats are saying are their leaders, you've got Gavin Newsom, you've got Joe Biden. Those are like the top. If you ask people today, like, who are the top Democrat leaders, those are the two people that they choose. They're both white straight males. So I just think that's ironic. I don't really care because those immutable characteristics don't matter to me. But it's really funny when the intersectional coalition chooses straight white men to be their leaders. So when I say that minorities have a cultural problem, what I'm not saying is that they should stop eating their cultural meals or going to their churches or speaking their languages, so long as they make it, less than English. English should be their primary language that they're striving for if they move to the United States. What I'm saying is that they should stop normalizing single motherhood, for example, which is super prevalent in minority communities, as well as low-paying jobs. I mean, it's really common in those cultures to pursue low-paying jobs. And look, if you're okay with that, that's fine. But what Gavin Newsom is talking about is that they're making low wages. And so if you choose low-paying jobs as part of your culture, you're going to make low wages. That's the reason why minorities are struggling. Let's start with the fact that if you're a minority, you're 90% more likely to be in a single motherhood household than if you were in a white household, which by the way, the numbers aren't great for white households either at this point. But you're 90% more likely to be in a single motherhood house if you're a minority. And he can't say that because progressives eat their own. They would absolutely destroy him if he said they had a cultural problem. You've seen, I mean, there's tons of famous videos out there with conservatives saying that there's a cultural problem in the black community, for instance, or the Hispanic community, and people can't even deal with that. They won't just sit down and listen for a second on what they have to say about the culture. Again, we're not talking about, what church they want to go to or even their language. We're talking about like single motherhood, which has been a part of their culture now. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please go down below, comment, like, and subscribe, and watch another video.